From my last class, is there any question? From my last class, do you have any question? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Where the rest of the students? Only 17 or? Can we wait 2-3 minutes or we can start?
Wait for 2-3 minutes. Sir.
I already late, but still. Okay, it's better. We can start. Only how many students right now? 30 students. 30 students. Am I audible? Is it? 30
Yes, sir.
students or 31, 32 students joined. Okay. I have already shared my laptop screen, and there I want to show the PPT. Okay, now I want to discuss about the ER diagram. That is, the ER data model can be expressed graphically with the help of diagram, or that is known as the ER diagram. And here different symbols are used to uh, to express the ER model, that is to form the ER diagram. Just like a rectangle, this rectangle represent the entity set. What is entity set, relationship set, attribute? I already discussed just last class. So entity set how we can represent the entity set by a rectangle shape. Okay, suppose if we write here, suppose the entity set is the customer or account, then we can write here account. That is, this represent the account is the one of the entity set. Okay, and the relationship is expressed by a diamond like shape. That is just like this one, diamond like shape. For example, say depositor or maybe borrower, say depositor. Okay, the line actually is used to represent the uh, to connect the attribute with the entity set and as well as the entity set with the relationship set. Is it okay? That is, link attribute with the entity set and as well as the entity set to the relationship set. The line act as a link. Ellipse represent the attribute. Ellipse represent the attribute. Say, for example, say customer ID or account number. Account, say number. Okay, that is account number is the one of the attribute and that is represented by a ellipse or elliptical shape. Double ellipse represent the multi-valued attribute and single ellipse represent the, or sorry, dash ellipse represent the derived attribute. Uh, Multi-valued attribute means I already told you the say phone number. Phone number is the multi-valued attribute. Okay, so say phone number. Okay, so phone number is the multi-valued attribute and that is represented by a double line ellipse. And dash shape ellipse, sorry, represent the derived attribute. This actually derived attribute. Okay, and here uh, one of the ER diagram that is I already told the customer entity set. This is the customer entity set which is described by the different attributes. What are the attributes? Phone number, customer ID, customer name, customer street, customer city. Okay, and here customer is the, this is the entity set. This is entity set, and you can see here the customer is represented by a rectangle block. And you can see the phone number, because this is the multi-valued attribute, for that it is a double line ellipse. Okay, and here underline of the any attribute name, just like this one, this customer ID act as a primary key. What is a primary key or what is a key we can discuss later. Okay, that uniquely identify the each of the customer from the customer entity set or each of the entity from the entity set with the help of this key. So we can discuss this one later. And similarly here the loan number is the loan number, this one is the primary key or key of that loan entity set. And here what is borrower? Borrower is the, this is a relationship set. Okay, this is a relationship set, this is entity set. That is customer and loan, these two entity set is associated via the relationship borrower. Okay, now here the the different kind of attribute, whatever actually I told, the derived attribute, the name is the customer, customer ID is the primary key, maybe underlined or maybe asterisk mark on side of the attribute to signify that it is a primary key or key of that entity set. Phone number, this is a multi-valued attribute. This is a, this is what, this is what derived attribute, is it now? The name is the derived attribute because the name can be decomposed into another three attribute: the first name, middle name, last name. So name may act as a derived attribute in this example. Similarly, this is also a, address is also a derived attribute. This address is also a derived attribute. And here you can see the dash ellipse. Sorry. One, I have something I told you the wrong information. What is the wrong information I have discussed here?
Composite, sir.
Okay, why you have not point out? So because these things I already discussed in yesterday, but still this one with example. So if you think there is some mistake or something, then you can point out, of course. That is, name is the composite attribute. This is a composite attribute. That is, this is the composite attribute. This is the address is the composite attribute. Name is the composite attribute. Okay. Similarly, here age, you can see the age is a dash ellipse. That is dash. It's bordered by dash. The age is the derived attribute. Why? Because the age is computed or calculated from the another attribute. Which attribute? Another attribute, date of birth. Okay. So for that, age is derived from the date of birth. Okay. And phone number is already told that it is a multi-valued attribute. And any composite attribute in this example, the address may contain a number of attributes like a simple attribute, zip code, state, city, and street. Street maybe it is a composite attribute. The street number, street name, apartment number, and so on. Okay. So these are the actually example. By that example, I want to clear you what is the difference between the different type of attributes and as well as the how actually the derived attributes actually compute the value.
Is there any different notation for composite attributes, sir?
Composite attribute, actually some other book maybe sometimes use the some notation, but not necessary. But here actually some of the books actually use some notation. Just like whatever actually I told the key or primary key. This is the primary key. The primary key is marked by underline, or sometimes it is marked by asterisk symbol. Okay, so is there? It is not necessary to you can use the some symbol, or it's the simple ellipse is okay. Okay. Now the example of the schema of the entity relationship model, the customer, this is the customer entity set, this is the account entity set, whatever I already discussed. Just this one actually represented as a ER diagram. Okay, in my last class there I already told the customer is the one of the entity set that contain the information about different customers, and as well as the account is the another entity set that can be described by the two attribute, account number and balance. How actually express represent this one in a ER diagram, that is actually shown in this way. Okay, and these two are associated, these two entity sets are associated with the relationship set depositor. Okay, and this you can see the line actually used to connect the attribute with the entity set and as well as the entity set with the relationship set depositor, just like a customer connected with the depositor and depositor connected with the account. Okay. Here cardinality constant, the whatever I have already discussed in my last class, the mapping cardinality. These are actually the mapping cardinality is the 4 types: one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. So express the cardinality constant in the ER diagram by a directed line to signify the one side. Okay, to signify one side, directed arrow key, arrow line, and just simple line is represent the many. Okay, this one represent the many. So just a minute. So here actually the example of 1-to-1 relationship. The you can see here the customer is associated. You can see here this is a arrow is there, or directed edge is there, or directed link is there. So this is a one, and this side is also one. That is it is a 1-to-1 relationship. That is borrower is the 1-to-1 relationship, or cardinality constant is the 1-to-1. And what is the meaning of that? The customer is associated with at most one loan via the relationship borrower, and as well as the loan is associated with at most one customer via the borrower relationship set. So uh, what here some assumption or hidden assumptions are there. What is the assumption? Tell me, anyone. In this ER diagram, what is the restriction, or what actually restriction it represent? Customer is associated with at most one loan via the relationship borrower. That is at most, this one actually basically at most single loan per customer. Okay, and as well as the loan is also associated with at most one customer. So joint loan holder is not possible. Joint holder is not allowed. Okay, is it now? So now the same example I can consider for a one-to-many type. Yeah, this side is the directed one, and this side is the many. So one thing actually, you can see the some of the books use the to represent the one side by a numeric value 1, and some of and also the many side by a character m. Okay, or maybe the character n, that is more than 1 to represent this one, or it is also there the you can use the directed edge or directed link to represent the one side, and undirected line to represent the many side. So now this is an example of one to many. So what actually signifies, or what constant actually signifies that? This one actually signifies that at most one customer via borrower, means the loan is associated with at most one customer, and as well as the single customer can taking a multiple loan from the bank. Okay, in the loan side you can see them m, or many side. So in that case, what is the we assume, or what actually represent by that constant? That is, in that case, joint loan holder is not possible or not allowed. That is, joint loan holder is not allowed. Okay, is there any confusion? Is it okay? Or now next one is the many to one. The many to one, we again consider the customer and loan entity set and associated with the relationship borrower. Many to one, this side is the many, this side is the one. So this signifies the loan is associated with several customer, maybe including the zero via the borrower relationship, and customer is associated with at most one loan. So, so this means uh, in that case, joint loan holder is possible, is it not? The one loan can be jointly taken by a multiple customer, but a particular customer can have only one loan from the bank. Okay, so so that means at most one loan per person. Okay, that is, this side is one, many to one means here at most single loan, and this side many side of the customer means any number of customer, any number of customers customers is associated with a particular loan. Now same example we can consider for many to many relationship. Here both sides are actually many, so any number of customer associated, that is any number of cus- any number of customer are associated with any number of loan. There may be the zero number of loan. That means in the customer entity set, there may be one of the entity, a particular customer, they does not have or taking any loan from the bank. It is also possible. Okay, and it is also possible the customer can have multiple loan from the bank, or may have a single loan from the bank. That is many to many is, there is a no such restriction is there. Joint or multiple loan holder is possible. Customer can taking a multiple loan from the bank in case of that can be represented by the many to many relationship set. Do you have any question, please? Is there any question? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Oh. Uh, is there any question from your side? Whatever actually I told, the example is clear. The example is clear or need to be explained again?
No, sir, it's clear.
It's clear. Okay, next, the role. That is the function in a, with the that is the function or task that an entity play with the relationship is called the role. entity sets are not distinct in the relationship set. It will be more clear if we consider the example. Uh, Here in this example, you can see the employee is the entity set. This employee is the entity set, and work for is the relationship set. Okay, work for is the relationship set. So employee entity set, what are the attribute? Employee ID, employee name, and telephone number set. And employee ID is the key here. Now this ER diagram or part of the ER diagram, what actually tells us the relationships work for might be it might be modeled by a pair of or order pair of the employee entities. That is, here the what function actually performed by the employee is labeled. That is, the employees perform the task as a worker, or he or she maybe perform the task as a manager. Okay, these are the that is the role. These are the actually task performed is the role. That is, worker and manager is the role, and that role actually labeled along with the connection line or along with the link. And here you can see this is a directed. The manager side, this one actually directed is, that means this side is one and this side is many. Okay, is it clear now? One to many. So how it's possible? That is, there multiple multiple worker have a single manager, and one manager, under one manager may have any number of worker work on a particular project, say. So here in this example you can see the work for, this is the relationship set, is it not? This is a relationship set. So this work for relationship sets that associate the same entity set employee. That is, in that case the entity sets of a relationship sets are not distinct. But here some of the employees role is the manager, some of the employees role is the worker. So to reflect that property or that things, this such constant, that is the who is the manager and who are the actually worker on that under this manager, that can be reflected by this ER diagram. Okay, whatever actually what I told, label manager and worker are called a role here basically, and they specify how employee entities interact via the work for relationship set. Okay, this role is clear. Is it clear or need to be explained again? In the role is important, or role is required to represent the ER diagram. In the ER diagram, when entity set of a relationship sets are not distinct. That is, there is a relationship sets that can associate with the same entity set. Okay, so one of the employee entity play the role manager, employee entity or some of the entities in the employee entity set. This is the employee entity set. The employee entity set, number of entities are there that can represent each of the employee. Number of employee entity is there in that set. Some of the entity in the employee entity set role is the manager, and some of the employee in that entity set role is a worker. How we can represent that? this can be represent via the work for via this work for relationship set, and role is labeled in the connection line. And also you can see here it is a many to one or one to many. Do you have any question?
Could you repeat? Sir? I could not understand the example of role, sir.
uh, that, you try to think. This is the employee entity set. In the employee entity set, there are number of entities are there. Employee entities are there. Is it not? Some of the entities, employee entities, that is some of the employees act as a manager of a particular project. Maybe you forget about the project. The designation is the manager. And in the employee, some of the entity in that employee entities in that employee entity set, in this set, are not a manager or not a supervisor. They are a simple worker designation. So this worker work for a particular manager. Is it that? So that can be described by this diagram, and that can be described by this ER diagram. And role is actually labeled here. This is the label here, worker and manager. And why it is a many to one? Because multiple worker work under a particular manager. And in opposite side, we can think a manager can have any number of worker to perform the project or perform the task. Okay. And here this role is the important when this such type of relationships is associated on the same entity set, different entity of the particular entity set, not the distinct entity set. That is, here the entity set is the employee, not the different. You can see here the previous example. Here actually two entity sets are different, customer and loan, distinct entity set. Borrower relationship associate the two distinct entities of the entity set, loan and customer. But here actually work for relationship is associated with the different entity in the same entity set, employee. Okay, this is some kind of special things. Is it okay?
Yes.
And in this case, we assume if there is a if you think like a project manager, there may be the more than one project manager is possible in complex case. So at that time, this is a many to many. Okay, but in normally for a set of worker, there is only one manager is there. For that, it is a many to one. But if there is a assumption or condition is there, there is a joint manager is possible. Okay, joint project manager or something. So at that time, this is a many to many. Okay, so I think is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, next point is the participation. The participation of an entity set in the relationship set. There are two type of participations is there: total participation and there is the partial participations. Participation means in a entity set, number of entities is there. Is it na? These entities are associated with another entity of the another entity set via the relationship set. For example, customer and loan. What is the relationship set? Borrower. Or maybe the customer account. Customer is the one of the entity set, account is the another entity set. What is the relationship set? Depositor. So in customer entity set, there is a number of customer entity. Similarly, in the account entity set, there is a number of account entities. So now question is, every entities of the account entity set can participate, or maybe uh, the every customer entity in the customer entity set is participate in the relationship, say depositor or maybe the borrower in case of loan or in case of account. There may be some customer entities, is possible, they does not taking a loan from the bank but have a account. So for example, this one, that is here, actually you can see the customer is the entity. These are the entity set that contain the number of customer entities. Loan is the another entity set. This contain the number of loan entities. Is it clear? And these are actually associated via the relationship borrower. Okay. Now you can see that every entity of the loan, every entities of the loan is participated or associated with a at most at least one customer. Is it na? Loan means they associate with one customer, but there may be possible in case of customer entity set, in the customer entity set there may be some entities, customer entities, they are not taking a loan. Try to understand or not? That is, in the customer entity, there is a sum of the, this is the customer entity 1, customer entity 2, customer entity 3, customer entity 4, customer entity 5, 6, 7, and so on. Okay, these are the entities, say, in that entity set, customer entity set. Suppose this customer having a loan, that means this customer entity participant. This one having a loan, this one taking is having or taking a loan, this one also taking a loan. Say this one taking a loan, but say this one, this solid one, not taking any loan from the bank, but this customer having an account in the bank. So the customer entity present in the customer entity set, this customer is present, customer entity present in the customer entity set, but this customer not participate or not taking any loan from the bank. So what is the meaning of that? So in that case, the participation of the customer entity is called the partial, whereas the participation of the loan entities in the borrower relation is total, and that is reflected by this double line. Okay, that is example, participation of loan in the borrower is total. Okay, because every loan must have a customer associated via the borrower relation. Is it clear? And participation of the customer is a partial. Why? Some of the entities may not participate in the relationship set. Here I can show this is the example, and as well as this is the example. These two customer entities are not participated with the borrower with this relationship, borrower relationship, because these two customer does not taking a loan from the bank.
How are
Is it clear? The total participation of the entity set and
part
partial participation. How are
how are
this
partial
borrower
participation is denoted
participate means this borrower is the one of the relationship. What actually signify? The customer having taking a loan
yes,
from the bank. This loan number and account amount is associated with the customer. Okay, that is the participation. Say this customer is the say Amit. That is Amit taking a loan. So this is the participation. Customer Amit already taking a have a loan from the bank means Amit participate via the borrower for taking the loan. But this customer say name is say Sujit. Say Sujit does not participate with the borrower relationship because Sujit does not taking any loan from the bank. What is the meaning? If that customer Sujit not taking any loan, so there is a no association with the borrower relationship. Borrower relationship associate customer with the loan. For example, Amit already taking a loan, so Amit is associated with the borrower relationship to associate with the loan entity. Okay, participate is clear. Here, participate, I mean the customer is associated with the loan via the borrower relationship. If the customer entity is not associated with the loan, when the customer is not associated or he or she is not associated with the loan by the borrower relationship, if he or she does not have a taking any loan from the bank, is it not? So that means such customer not participate to in the borrower relationship to taking a loan from the bank. Is it clear or
sir, my question was, sir, how are partial participations denoted, sir, in an ER graph? Like single line, like total participation is denoted by a double line, right?
partial double line is the total participation.
Then
Okay,
partial participation?
partial participation single line.
Okay, sir.
So if you uh, efficiently draw the ER diagram, then these are the actually crucial point: the total participation and partial participation. But if you have not draw efficiently, or maybe the not uh, you can focus your eyes. Uh, uh, very inside, then both are actually single line. Okay, but if you reflect it more correctly or more meaningful, then it will be a double line in the borrower to loan side. Okay, double line means it is a total participation, and single line means partial participation. Okay, this one actually indicated by the double line in case of total participation. But if you see our previous example here, here, I can show it a single line. Is it na? I can show it a single line. Single line means partial participation, but loan is not a partial participation with the borrower relationship. Is it na? If you if you want to reflect more meaningfully, then this is a double line in the this side. This side is the double line. Is it clear? But if you write the single line, then it's okay. It reflect the things, but it not reflect the fact more appropriately. More appropriately means so like this double line. Okay? I think it is clear now. Is it okay? For example, in programming, when you want to accept any input from the keyboard, suppose by programming language C or maybe the C in C, suppose you can use the scanf function, is it na? So in a program, you just simply write the scanf %d quotation comma ampersand n. This is also fine, but it will be more fine or it will be more appropriate if you write before this scanf one of the printf, print the message, enter the total number of elements or something. So which one is the good practice or which one is the more meaningful? The printf statement by giving some message, you can enter the input and then scanf statement to accept the input, or only you can write the scanf statement to accept the input. Which one more meaningful? Printf and scanf combination, is it na? Printf and scanf combination is the more meaningful. Is it clear? So here also the total participation and partial participation, if you reflect in the ER diagram, it will be more meaningful rather than if you have not mentioned the total and partial participation. I hope is it clear? Yes or no?
Clear, sir.
Okay. So the next one is the key. The first one is the super key. What is super key? Super key of an entity set. I want to say that this is in the key. This super key term actually comes in case of entity set, in case of relationship set, and as well as the when we talk about the relational model in the next chapter or maybe throughout our syllabus. There also to consider the table or relation, not a relationship. In case of relational model, relation. The relation are actually expressed in as a table. So there also the super key, primary key, foreign key, this term also comes, and the definition is the same or similar. So what is now I want to say the different type of keys with respect to entity set and as well as the relationship set, because we have discussed here the ER data model or ER diagram. Okay. What is a super key? Super key is of an entity set is a set of one or more attributes, whose values uniquely determine or uniquely identify each of the entity from the entity set. Suppose for example, I here say this customer entity set, how each customer in that customer entity sets are identified by the customer ID, because customer ID is the unique, or maybe the combination of customer ID, customer name, and as well as the customer ID, customer street also identify the each of the customer entity from the customer entity set. You can think like a entities means you can think like it is a record or it is a row of the table, like that. Super key is the set of one or more attribute whose values uniquely determine the each of the entity. What is the candidate key? Candidate key is the minimal super key. Candidate key of an entity set is the minimal super key. That is the minimum number of attribute to uniquely identify the each entity in the entity set. Okay, candidate key is the minimal super key. What is the super key? Super key is the set of one or more attribute whose values uniquely identify each of the entity in the entity set. So candidate key is the minimal super key, means candidate keys of an entity set is a minimum number of attributes whose value uniquely identify each of the entity in the entity set. For example, the customer ID is the candidate key. Account number is the candidate key of the account entity set. So here super key are the, just a minute.
Sir,
Class. Is there Next class is there.
Okay.
Okay, just so super key is the, for example, super key is the, say, customer ID, city. This is a super key. Maybe the customer ID, city, street. This is also a super key. This is also a super key. Maybe customer ID, customer name. This is also a super key. But you can see the minimal form. Which one is the minimal form here? Customer ID. You can see the customer ID is the minimal form. So customer ID is the candidate key of the customer entity set. And primary key, there may be possible sometimes more than one candidate key is there. At that time, any one of them is considered as a considered by the database administrator or database designer that can act as a primary key. That is, primary key is also a one of the candidate key, which is chosen by the database administrator. Okay, if more than one candidate key is there. Another term is the foreign key. What is the foreign key? The foreign key is the primary key is the very important. Foreign key of an entity set is the set of one or more attributes that uniquely identify an entity of another entity set, which means the foreign key is defined in the second entity set, but it refers to the primary key of the another entity set. That means suppose this customer ID is the primary key or candidate key of the customer entity. If this customer ID is present in another entity set as a one of the attribute, then at that time it called the foreign key of that entity set. Suppose the entity set XYZ. This is one of the entity set. Here one of the attribute is the, say, A. A is the primary key. A is the primary key. Okay, and some other attributes are there. I'm not right. Say another entity set, say ABC. Okay, here number of attributes are there. Say this is the primary key here, and here in that case A is present as a one of the attribute. At that time it is called a, this is called a foreign, sorry, this is called a foreign key. Okay, and this is called, oh, sorry, that is, this is the primary key, and this is, in that case, this is the foreign key. Okay, this is a foreign key. Okay, we can discuss this one in our next class. Still, if you have any question regarding the key, we can talk in my next class. So up to that, any question or any
No, sir.
No, sir.
discussion
It's
is
clear.
required if you think? Okay.
No, sir, please.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, Dinesh, you have any question? Swabhat Dinesh?